Hey, what's up everyone? Aubrey Trades here with another Sunday night watch list, going over some trade ideas for the week ahead. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into it. Now, expecting to see some further volatility in the SPY after this crazy sell-off that we had. Now, everyone's kind of talking carnage and, oh, fear's all heightened, but I mean, we're only like, I don't know, 3-ish percent off of all-time highs. So if you consider like back in the 2018 era when we had inflation fears and rate hike fears, we had a 20% sell-off over like a 6-month period. Let's look at right around here is that 2018 zone, and we can kind of see, let's see, we had like these fears around here. Okay, look at this. Bam, in October. And then we had about till April, April-ish, May-ish, that we kind of got back to these all-time highs. And then really that peak bottom was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks until we hit that peak bottom. So that is to say that, you know, if this is that same sort of rate hike fear, this could just be the beginning of this sell-off. I wouldn't be surprised to see us kind of like get back into this 430s, 420s range. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but that's just to say I'm expecting a lot more chop and a lot more extended volatility going into this, into this season. I don't think the winter rally thing is going to happen as we were all expecting. Maybe, I don't know, at best into January or something. I don't know. I think everyone's just really freaked out with Powell kind of changing his tone, right? So what am I looking for in this environment? Well, if you caught one of my last videos, while we're in this high volatility environment, I'm really interested in playing against the SPY as a whole. I mean, there's so much range to take advantage of these big swings on the option side, especially using the volatility index as sort of a leading indicator, since we know that they like to trade inverse with one another. So I will specifically be looking for breakouts or breakdowns on the VIX at key levels, and either getting long puts or calls on the SPY, or another thing that I'm going to be looking at is UVXY to get long in the day trading account if we see extended volatility to kind of ride this momentum upwards. And then on breakdowns, you can also look at SVXY to get long, which trades inverse to the VIX. So this will go up as volatility goes down. So if you see the VIX breaking down here, like let's look at Friday, right? Around, we had a breakdown at 1210, and look at this, SVXY spikes into the close at 1210. So that's just another thing, another instrument for y'all to take a look at. UVXY and SVXY would specifically look to get long like in the day trading account, versus, you know, doing the SPY calls game is more of in the swing trade, the options margin account over in the Robinhood account. So those are going to be probably the primary things I'm looking for in this environment. But let's go over some other tickers as well. On low float, small cap land, momentum is not super there. Things aren't really moving very clean, but some names to keep an eye on: Cpix, CVFI specifically, or CFVI, sorry, is kind of going up. It's got rumors that the guy Trump is involved, you know, rumors of a $1 billion pipe deal with this with these guys. So this in the after hours climbed all the way up into the 13, so it's back here in the highs. So definitely looking for this continuation move, especially if we hold over 13 or this 1230s range. See if this opens up some more, we can get 14s and squeeze a little bit higher. And of course, with that happening, if this starts to run, keep an eye on DWAC, which is showing a little bit of life here. Specifically have this big overhead resistance levels in the low 50s, but could see a decent trend break sort of setup here, especially if CVFI starts moving. And then of course we would put Fun up against that as well as a sympathy name, even though this one really ended up breaking down though. Also keep an eye on the CFVIW, the warrants. You can play that as well. This might even have some better percentage return gains, although the other side of that is that it's much lighter volume and the spreads can be a little bit more difficult. But if you see CVFI spiking real big, there can sometimes be a lag in the warrants. So if you feel like you missed and you're chasing the main move, you can look at the warrants to get long as well. Going over some other names, let's look at Cpix for the week ahead. This is looking pretty good. Definitely look for those breakouts over that 513, 548 zones where we can kind of get this to open up some more. If we go into the daily chart, I mean, these are fresh highs. Move it back into the weekly, and you can see we kind of topped out right around here. Lot of shelf overhead resistance in the 540s, 550s. So that's something to be aware of. There's going to be a lot of bag holders up until the 6s. And then other names, we got, I'm going to say Lgbn is a top. We'll highlight that one. I'm going to say Bctx. This did have a nice move this week, Bctx. Let's go into the daily chart. Or we did get this little bit of a short squeeze up into the 1247s, but then it kind of trapped a bunch of longs and then sold off along with the broader markets. But we did hold this low here, so that's kind of our risk level now for that long swing. I did close out those option swings on this big squeeze day. Not nearly for enough of a profit. I did want to hold until that 14 mark, but once we saw the trapped longs, I ended up ditching out around for I want to say like a 15 or 20% gain or something like that, somewhere up in this zone after this big knife candle. I was like, you know what, SPY's weak, I'm just gonna shut it down. I don't want to worry about it, and I'm slowly scaling back into those long option calls in these dips here, and then I'll just sell, recycle into the next pop. Lgbn, this one is kind of seeing a little bit of a life again. It did have some news. I think it was some FDA related. Let's see. Forget which one it is. It did get something. Boom, boom. Granted FDA orphan drug designation. That's it. So it did see some renewed interest, but kind of back along this trend line. Just keep an eye on it. If it wants to perk up again tomorrow or anytime this week, the level to watch is really that 25 level. Once we get over 25, it kind of opens us up a little bit more. We can retest into this 29s, 30s. Let's keep an eye on that one. We'll look at ARDX is one that has been, it's a higher float, so it doesn't move as quickly as some of the other ones, but it's a nice uptrending chart over here. We kind of had this spike, and then, you know, this big fade spike, and then Friday we had a little bit of an extended rally, but then it largely faded for the rest of the day. So that is to say, we're going to watch for some continuation. Might be good to look at this on the hourly chart. If I can get long somewhere in the 130s near this 3550 EMA cloud, that might be good for a longer swing type of idea. Otherwise, again, you could do the same thing maybe around the 7590 cloud here for continuation up move on ARDX. And then worth keeping tabs on some of the Zach Morris names. Still not much going on, but we did see some action on CNTX last week, which finally rotated back out and had this nice pop here. And I think MRay is starting to set up for that as well, kind of curling up, reclaiming this cluster of EMA clouds here. So I'm specifically going to keep an eye on MRay. That quiet period should be ending soon. Maybe they'll drop some PR. Maybe we'll get a nice little squeeze back into these 6s, 7, 8s maybe. But and then there's another Zach Morris name that I'm looking for. I think it's STRN. MRay. I'm just going to end up highlighting all of these. STRN is another Zach Morris name that is starting to take shape. Recent IPO, coming back toward those highs. I now kind of have this trend drawn here. I'll be interested over the 5s. For STRN, and then let's go into AHI, another one, recent IPO, setting up relatively nicely. Did kind of close down a bit, but if this can reclaim these 520 areas, I would be interested in that. ABUS is another recent runner that's kind of like hanging around. It's sort of sold off a bunch, but if it wants to show a little bit of a revival, I don't like this breakdown here, but if you get something north of the 420s, that might be interesting. Remove that there. Bit of a back burner play. And then with the broader markets though, now again, be careful. The momentum not there the way it was. These don't seem to be trading as clean. Afternoon plays seem to be the thing to look for. But on the big boards, the large cap ideas, we got Apple, which is just off of its highs. This would be something I would look for, the option swing account. This would depend on how that 150s holds. I'm not really wanting to see 155 kind of break down as support. If we can kind of break out of this wedge and rotate back up into the 165s, I'd be interested in that. Another one is Marvell. This is a semiconductor play that gapped up Friday on good earnings. Think AMD, think NVIDIA. Now those are seeing weakness with the overall markets, but this, it's a good sector, and it held up in the midst of all of the fading action across the broader market. So definitely interested in this for some continuation. This really just hung around here. So maybe like a weak open red to green. You can swing 88 calls if wants to break out to new highs. And then another big board idea is Builders First Resource Inc. Kind of holding up. This as like a sympathy to Home Depot, and those kind of plays, those have held up also while the SPY has been sort of selling off. You want to see this 68, 69 level hold, but this might be a good if this starts to bounce off of the 72.89 EMA cloud, rotate back up. That can be another good long swing idea. On the short side though, we did see AMC really deflate this past week. Our beautiful daily and weekly structure that we were looking for the meme rally is just completely fallen apart. So now this is a short, long puts. Ideally, if this spikes and hits resistance, this did have a nice bounce Friday from 25 all the way to 29. So if this is going to reject 30, you can get some long puts that would conveniently overlap with this 200 EMA. But if we see an extended rally, look for 34. Previous support should now serve at resistance, 34, and then down here also in the 29s, which is where we kind of ended up closing. Anyway, so good long put idea. Also, like the other meme names too are long puts in sympathy, BB. What is holding up stronger though is GME, not quite breaking down yet, despite the overall sell-off. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Now, we do have earnings coming up on the 8th, and I'm curious if this is just slowly selling off, if we're going to see a major gap down on the 8th, similar to what we saw with Asana and Dropbox. Asana with this crazy gap down after earnings, and DocuSign with this crazy gap down after earnings. Wouldn't surprise me to see similar action with GameStop, especially considering the way that AMC fell apart. So I'm keeping an eye on that for long puts as well. You want to keep an eye on this 166 level. You want to keep an eye on this 145 level. Maybe good put strike prices. I might take, I don't know, I'd be nervous about holding this into earnings, but if you're betting on an earnings gap down, you kind of got to do it. Maybe I would just take like January 2022 call options, so that way it kind of retains some of its value post earnings instead of just playing the weekly lottos. You know, that's an idea. Moving on down the list, we already went through SPY, UVXY, SVXY. Those are going to be main day trading options ideas, or UVXY getting long in the day trading account on VIX breakouts. Baba, Baidu, Asana, DocuSign, these are all puts ideas. We just looked at the others. So if Asana ends up having a bounce into the 80s, you know, long puts. Same with Docu. If Docu ends up getting any kind of bounce here, you know, we could look at 179 should now be a resistance level here on the daily chart. If we look at the weekly chart, that was such a nasty gap down. Look, this weekly chart's just gonna look disgust. There's really no support on this until 92 or par at 100. So I don't know that it's going to continually sell off, but I would definitely look to long puts into the 150s, 180s. Baidu and Baba, you know, because DD's getting delisted, these are falling apart here. So these are now long puts into resistance here on pops. Same with Baba. Bearish chart on the weekly. This one had a really, really nasty gap down. Boom. So if this gets a relief bounce into that 133 range, long puts, we kind of found some support here from this level in the 109s back in 2017. Oh my goodness. Hilarious. And let's see, Facebook and Tesla. So Facebook, you want to see that 300 level hold on Facebook. This is also kind of a victim of the overall market sell-off. You can kind of draw this. I already had that there. Ha 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 ha. You want to see this 300 level hold for Facebook. If we start breaking down some more, then, you know, it's 280, it's 250, it's 240, right? And then on Tesla, you want to see that 1,000 level hold. This has been relatively strong considering the state of the markets, right? This has really, really held up pretty nicely. So Tesla, if you want to do long scalps off the $1,000 level, or if 1K starts to break down, then you're looking at 900, which is sort of this breakout level around here. So if that starts to break down, you can do get long 1,000 strike puts. An idea. I don't know how I would play Facebook though. I don't know. I'd have to watch to see how Facebook continues to play out. The daily chart is definitely bearish, crossing under the 200. Maybe long puts into bounces here, depending on how this 300 zone holds up. But that is it for the watch list. Some small cap, low float ideas, and then a lot of big board ideas for big swings, because that just seems to be where things are moving a little bit more now. So that is that. I think that's all I really got. Oh, we can't forget, obviously, keeping an eye on Lucid and Rivian as well. Lucid, I mean, that 3550 is here in the 40s, crossing under the 513 on the daily. So long puts into any pops. Rivian really deflated as well, almost back down to IPO pricing. So I don't really know if this has much more room to go, but I don't know. We'll close it out with that. So that's all I got. A little bit longer, but wanted to just kind of go through all of the main ideas I got during this, period of uncertainty. Definitely more focused on big boards, option swings, big swings now, playing SPY and VIXY, but some small cap ideas in there too. So that's it. If you like this video, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, and leave a comment down below what other types of content you want to see from this channel. I'm Aubrey Trades. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.